Okay, welcome this afternoon. So today we have the lovely Tricia here, and we're going to be talking about the best ways to deal with stress right now. So there's a lot of things going on at the moment which are causing a lot of people stress. In addition to the normal things that we have. So Tricia is here today. She's an integrative coach and therapist and author. She helps people to overcome stress and turn their life from tired to inspired. So, welcome, Tricia.
Hello, hi.
Thank you for joining us today. It's a great privilege to have you here, and really hope that some of our members are going to benefit from the message that you bring today. So, I think the first way to start is just to talk about what is stress.
Well, normally I would describe stress very simplistically and say that it is we have more demands placed upon us than our perceived ability to cope. And that's really in a world where stress is just, God, I've got so much to do, and God, that person is so difficult. So that definition fits there, but it doesn't quite fit at the moment. So it's more about I can't cope with what's going on is stress.
Yeah.
Our sense of being able to cope.
Okay, so how do you know when you are stressed?
Okay, well, everybody's a little different and will show their stress in different ways. Sometimes people are very good at hiding it, even to themselves. But there are physical signs, like people might have more aches and pains. They might have worsening skin problems. So eczema is a big one. They may have stomach issues. They may have problems sleeping, that kind of thing. Then there are emotional ones, things like tearfulness or irritability. Loss of sense of humor is quite a big one. And you might actually find, just to the opposite side of that coin, you might find that some people have an overuse of humor, like they're kind of trying to make things more funny than they are, and that's them trying to cope. It's not kind of a balanced way. And then you get the behavioral responses. So the most common one of those is what I call too muching behavior. And this is where people start to eat more, drink more, smoke more, shop more, which they'll be doing online now, spending more time on social media as a way of escaping from the problem. But it's not really escaping, it's just distracting from it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of our members can relate to that, especially when it comes to food or even exercise and smoking and things that they're using to try and cover up the fact that they're actually quite stressed.
Yeah.
So how is stress different now than it is to usual?
Okay, so it's quite different now because what people are finding really stressful is the lack of certainty about what's going on. It's really attacking one of our core needs, which is to feel safe and secure. And there's very few people on earth right now that are feeling either safe and secure. We also like, as human beings, we like certainty. And what we certainly don't have, one thing is for sure, we do not have certainty. We don't know how this is going to pan out. We don't know how long it's going to last. We don't know the ongoing consequences when it actually does stop, because there will be repercussions. So, these are things that are really feeding people's anxieties and stress. The other thing, and again, these are all part of our basic human needs, is the social interaction is severely diminished. So people are much more lonely. And if you're an extroverts are people that get their energy from other people. This is going to be crippling. If you're an introvert, where you get your energy from being alone and just spending quiet time, it'll be less crippling, but even so, we do need that interaction. The opposite side of that coin is that some people will be spending much more time with people that you really don't get along with when it's just a little bit of time in the evenings. Mm-hmm. So people that they live with, that they might have fractious relationships with, and having to cohabit under these pressured circumstances, especially if there's not much escape space around them in their home, can be particularly stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm an extrovert, so I love social interaction. So for me, that's been the hardest thing, definitely.
Yeah.
But having the ability to connect online, as we
Yeah.
are now, is
Yeah.
amazing, and that's such a God's gift. So
Yeah, I mean, we've had, like I said today to a friend, fancy a glass of wine on Friday night, and we'll have a chat. We're going to have a glass of wine. I do have something which looks like a very large gin and tonic at the moment, but it's actually water with a big chunk of lemon in it.
it's only
Sorry?
time for gin
It
and
must be that time, mustn't it? No, it is water, honestly, and actually I'm thirsty now.
So we know that at the moment people are quite stressed, and even typically people can be stressed. What are the typical ways people manage stress, and what are their coping mechanisms that they are using, good or bad? What are people using?
Let's talk about the bad ones first of all, because they feel like functional and helpful behaviours, and they're not. And really, they're the ones that I've already mentioned, what I call too much in behaviours. And those people might say, but it just is soothing and calming to eat a lot. So I love chocolate, by the way, for example. But if I ate chocolate every time I wanted chocolate, I would have a much bigger problem. I'd be big as a house, and then I'd have a different stressor, and my heart would be struggling, and so on and so forth. So all it's doing is creating problems down the line, and it's suppressing what's really going on. So stress is actually a signal. It's saying, it's like the body mind's way of saying, hey, something's going on and we need to address it. Now, we can't fix COVID-19, so we can't say, let's go and address that then. We'll come up with a vaccine, that's what we'll do. As individuals, that's not within our power to do. So we have to look at what is it that we can manage.
Yeah.
Controlling our own environment, making sure that we're following all of the guidelines, very clear, very simple guidelines, simple, not necessarily easy, about hand washing and social distancing and so on. Looking at what you can do, and also managing yourself and how you are within all of this, because we can't manage what's outside. So that's where a lot of people go wrong, is I'll come to that later on, they're kind of thinking what should be going on outside. Another common way that people are managing stress, and they don't know that they're doing this necessarily, is something called displacement. And this is where you might be feeling stressed about this, or your partner's being really horrible to you or whatever. But what you do about it is you kick the cat, or you punch a hole in the wall, or something like that. That's displacement. And that's not functional, because it's not addressing the actual issue so far as we possibly can, knowing that we've only got a certain amount of influence over a situation. So that's not a helpful way. But I have come up with some really simple strategies that can help people. Would you like me to go through them? Yeah. It was a 5-point plan, but I've made it 6. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Actually, yes, 7 if we include exercise. So sign up for your program. So that's the 7th one, but let's go through the other ones. The easiest thing is, because everything is so uncertain and all over the place, is to create a structure in your day. This sounds so boring and like it wouldn't make any difference at all, but it really is helpful. Creating a structure in your day that is as close to your normal structure as is possible. And I mean, including getting out of bed at the same time, including having a shower, including getting dressed. And I know some people are enjoying the kind of pajama thing, and not letting their hair roll, which is fine, but it's not putting in the right mindset. Right. Okay, so I think it's really good to try and follow a routine as close to normal as possible, because we like familiarity. So this is something that we can make familiar. This is a familiarity that we can keep, rather. When we have familiarity, there is a soothingness to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's number one. What else have I got? Oh yes, in that, try and include some quick wins in your day. So whether they're work related, or if you're not working, it could be home related. So a home thing is change the sheets today, and I don't know, clear up that cupboard.
Yeah, my favourite one is make the bed.
Yeah.
Every day. Bed.
Me too. And there's a fabulous video, which I don't know if you've seen it, but it's somebody in the army. And when I say somebody in the army, he's very high up, but I can't remember what the rankings are. And he's got a whole video about, is it called videos anymore? I don't know what we call things anymore. But anyway, something on YouTube about the importance and benefit of making your bed each day. It's absolutely brilliant. I can give you the link if you would like it. And it just sets you up for the day. It makes you think, right, I've made some progress. I'm in charge of my day. And then at the end of the day, even if it's a horrible day, you've got the comfort of a nicely made bed. There's a lot more in there as well. But, you know, those little quick wins and work quick wins, something that makes you feel like, oh, good, I've done that. And then it gives you a bit of energy to then go on and do whatever else you need to do. So that's number one tip. Number two, in relationships, and actually, if you're living alone, this can work in your relationship with yourself. But in your relationships in your home, look, each of you agreeing one thing that you could do to ease things for the other person, something tiny. So I'm not talking about changing your entire personality. That's way too big an ask. It'll take years to do. But it's just doing little things like, yes, I will pick up my socks, and all right, I will let you watch your program without nagging all the way through it, or whatever. Just one little thing. And if everybody in the house, whether that's two of you or more, does one little thing to make it easier for the other person, it just eases tensions. If you are living alone, what one little thing can I do to make things easier? And I don't know what that might be, but it might be actually making my bed, or it might be I'm going to have my cup of tea in the nicest mug. I'm not going to keep it for best. I don't know, just something that feels right to you. Yeah. The next thing is about the media. So a lot of people are what I call gorging on newspapers, social media, because they think that if they know absolutely everything, they're going to be able to fight this thing and beat this thing. But actually what it's doing is making people really fearful and really depressed, and it's not healthy. I'm recommending that people limit it to 10 minutes a day. So you just got the highlights, and choose a trustworthy source. Social media is not a trustworthy source. There's a lot of fake news. So whatever is a trusted source for you, just to keep up to date, so you know what's going on, and then forget it, because it's just going to drive everyone crazy.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, actually, because I stopped watching the news this year because, like you say, it is so full of negativity, and obviously the news need eyes on them, and so they make these headlines into the biggest thing they can possibly find, whether that's, and it's normally, most of the time, extremely negative, because that's what's going to get attention.
Absolutely, it's very annoying. So some of the newspapers are much worse. The TV is bad enough, but the newspapers are much worse. So I'm not even buying newspapers nearly as often as I would do, because I don't want to read their rubbish. It's all distorted. So I'm just keeping myself abreast of what's going on, high level. I don't need the detail. So that's a big tip. And the same with social media. Just limit it. There are some uplifting things, but there's a lot that isn't uplifting. So just limit it. Much better to.
My point on social media, to add to that, would be if there is anything on your feed that is negative and it's bringing you down, unfollow it, unlike it, because it doesn't mean you shouldn't be using social media. It just means you need to be following things that inspire you and things that make you feel good.
Lovely. I never thought of the unfollowing thing. What does that say about me? That's a good one. Thank you. I shall use that tip. If somebody puts I know somebody who does that quite a bit, and I wouldn't want to hurt their feelings, but isn't it interesting that in not hurting theirs, I'm hurting mine? So something to think about. Right. Then the next one is a bit complicated, to be honest with you, but it's still important to address it, and that's our thinking patterns. So there are lots of thinking patterns that get in the way of our peace of mind, and I've chosen 3 that I'll just address very quickly. One is catastrophizing. Oh, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. When you think that way, it just makes you feel much worse. And the way to tackle that one is, okay, what is the best that can come out of this? And really kind of turning things around. This doesn't mean you're detached from reality. It means you're focusing on the positive. I hope I haven't said that too quickly for it to be helpful. Does that make sense?
That's a valid point, and it's sometimes it's the wording in which you use. For
Yeah.
example, if you tell yourself you can't go outside, it's very different to I'm staying safe at home.
Oh, perfect. You're good at this. Absolutely. So it's the same thing, but just a different nuance.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. And you are good at this thing.
Yeah.
Another one.
Just the frame of how you're putting
Yeah.
yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
When you're looking towards the positives on a daily basis, if you wrote down 3 things that you had positive from today, you would feel so much more better than if you're focusing on all the negatives. So I agree.
Yeah. And you do get cynics that say, yeah, but that's just pie in the sky thinking. Yeah, but how do you feel at every moment of every day? You know, you're feeling happy? Not really. So, you know, it's much better to look at what can I do? What can I do that's useful? What can I do that's positive? How can I make the best use of this time? So I've made so much use of this time. And I've just heard about the extra time that we've got, and I thought, oh, good, I can finish those other things as well. Not that I want this to go on, but I'm, you know, I'd like life to be normal as much as anyone else. But I'm thinking, I've still got time to do that I'd wanted to do, and that I'd wanted to do. And, you know, some of that is just, you know, I'm playing the piano, I'm getting better at that. I'm not very good, but I'm less bad than at the beginning of all of this. So it's kind of using it. The other thinking pattern is black and white thinking, all or nothing. And this is people who think that way think this is either really good or it's really bad. Since what's going on right now isn't really good, they're going to be thinking it's really bad. And so they'll be going down the, oh my God, you know, this is the worst thing ever route. So these people need to look at this shades of grey in the middle. So what can be good about this? How can I make this as good as possible? You know, like I said about me getting projects done and the piano and so on. And then the other one is what I call, it's not my phrase, the tyranny of the shoulds. People should do this. People should be like that. I should be able to cope. The shoulds always have a kind of judgment in it. So instead of saying shoulds, just say I prefer that people would be more considerate of others, and I prefer that they would be kinder or whatever, rather than should, because there's always a kind of heaviness to that.
That is actually the same when it comes to being active or eating well or being productive. I think when you feel like you should be doing those things, even if you're not, you kind of give yourself an added pressure to be doing that. And
absolutely, and it's a pass or fail.
Yeah,
you know, it's not a good way. So when I'm coaching people on that kind of thing, I say choose to do it. Choose to do it. Don't say you should do it. I exercise every day, and I never want to exercise. I do it first thing in the morning, but I want to feel how I feel once I've exercised. So I say, well, I choose to exercise because I like how I feel afterwards. I don't like doing it, but so I choose to is much better.
Yeah, and it's taking that pressure away from you to feel like you have to be doing it, because when you're not doing it, that makes you feel like a failure.
Yeah, absolutely, spot on. Okay. And the other one, a sixth one I added on, I thought, well, this really belongs in here so strongly, and that is about being kind to yourself and others. And sometimes, you know, I know that I say some bad things to myself, like, oh, that was really stupid. I will say it like that, and I'm thinking, I can't be coaching other people on being kind to themselves, and actually I can be pretty mean with myself. So being kind to yourself, you know, so if you have a bad day, just say, oh, I had a bad day today. I'm going to be gentle with myself, and tomorrow I can start again. And being kind to others, because actually being kind to others is a way of being kind to ourselves, and just makes the world a better place.
Yeah, it's interesting that so many people can find it very easy to be kind to others and nice to others, but they don't take the same advice for themselves or treat themselves in the same way. So that's very interesting.
Yeah. And I know this stuff, and I teach this stuff, and I fall into that even now. I did this morning. It's just like, hello. So sometimes you've got to just remind yourself.
I found a good way to do that, to be kind to yourself, is actually stand in front of a mirror, look at yourself, and speak to yourselves as if you were another person. And what would you say to somebody else if they were feeling? are.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, would you treat anybody else? Would you say to somebody else they were really stupid? No, you wouldn't. You just say that was a really good effort. You know, next time you can do this. So the mirror work is really really good work. But sometimes people even struggle with that because they don't like to see themselves in the mirror. But that's another thing for another day. I do have a free video and recording, MP3 recording for anybody who I called it COVID Calm. It's just to help people feel a bit calm, and it's absolutely free, and people are very free to share it with whoever they want. So I'm offering that to everybody.
Yeah, we'll post that into the group as well today.
Yeah. Okay.
So I have one last question. What could happen if people don't deal with their stress?
Okay. So I'm glad you asked that, because that's super important. We can kind of be blind to it forever, but the chances are that if you power through and ignore your needs, what it's likely going to lead to is either burnout or breakdown. Those are similar things but not the same. Burnout is where you have no energy, and I'm not talking about you fall asleep at night whilst you're watching a TV. I'm talking about brushing your teeth is too much to bear.
Yeah.
Not being able to get out of bed. That kind of, I have nothing left. There is no battery in the car. And breakdown is about the emotional breakdown where just everything is so overwhelming you can't leave the house.
Mm-hmm.
So you do not want to get into that position. So preventative measures are really important, so that you don't get down that route. It can take a year to recover from those.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I've covered today is just a tip of the iceberg of what you can do to help, but they are good tips. But like exercise, only good if you use them.
Yeah, absolutely. So the small things you can do now are
Yeah.
definitely worthwhile doing as much as you can to try and prevent you getting more stressed or if things getting worse. So hopefully those tips have helped some people today. If anyone watching is struggling with stress, then reach out, because you're not alone, and there are professionals out here to help you. So reach out either to myself or Tricia, and we can help you. And talk through, your problems and what we can do. But take the tips away that we've given today, and hopefully that will help you feel a little bit more positive going forward.
I realised I missed one of the 6, and if someone's counting what I said up, they're going to call me up on it. And it's an important one, so if I can just add that in, and you can use it with exercise as well. And they sound like they're the same thing, they're not, but they're similar. Mindfulness, meditation, and self-hypnosis all help with mental calming.
Yeah.
And when you're exercising, whether it's just a walk out during the day or doing one of your routines, doing it mindfully can bring an added level of calm and peace that we all need right now.
Yeah, definitely. And going out for a walk without your mobile phone, for example, can be a very good example and an easy thing you can do. So you're not distracted by things happening and people calling or whatever. Leave your phone at home. Just go for a walk, listen to the nature, and you can definitely feel a lot better once you've done that.
Actually, we're hearing nature a lot more. You can hear bird songs so much more clearly now.
That's true.
It's lovely. Yeah.
Well, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Tricia. I'm really hoping that people have taken some benefit from this. Don't forget, you can reach out to any of us if you need any help or support. So thank you very much for joining us. And for those watching, we'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.